Top shift, call my girls and put them all on a spaceship.
Hey guys, I'm going to give a couple seconds here, but I have to say this has been the craziest couple weeks, and I have met so many people. I've had so many messages from so many different women from all over who are running businesses, starting up businesses, graduating from college, and looking to do some new things. And the opportunity to meet them has been really cool. I've definitely met a few people who I can so see a future helping and working closer with, and nurturing those relationships now is so important. And I've met some other people who really aren't all that great. And I'm not going to bash anyone, but I will say that some of the people I've met have been very standoffish. Like, and this is funny. So I have this message that I send out to anyone new that I'm connecting with. And it's really it's an introduction message for me to let them know who I am, what I do. And I always ask them what they're working on or what's going on, what's new with them. So I send it to, a lot of people, and I always get so many interesting responses, but I got one today that I thought was freaking hilarious, because there was a girl who I sent the message to, and then her response to me was not interested or no thanks. And I said, okay, no thanks, what? And she said, no thanks, I'm not interested in fixing my relationship. So I was like, where did that come from? Because I introduce myself as someone who helps people grow and build their relationships with customers, with friends, with, anyone. And she immediately thought that I was asking for if I wanted to help her, or if she wanted me to help her. That was not what I asked. I asked, what are you working on? What do you have going on? And that response to me, it was just like, it's so sad, because it's like, this person is clearly not interested in really forming a relationship. And it was funny to me because she sent me a friend request. I didn't even send her a request. So the fact that she sent me a friend request, and then I couldn't even have a conversation with her, was just kind of sad. And I laughed because I can remember being that way. I can remember, and sorry, I'm looking down. I'm trying to share this on my page, and I suck with technology. I realized it's so bad now. But yeah, I used to be that way. I used to be defensive. And I feel like maybe a lot of people these days are pretty defensive because they are inundated with people on social media who might reach out to them, and they aren't really there to be friends, really. They're there to earn a buck or get a business opportunity or, grow their team. And I mean, I think those things are great, but, I am very much someone who understands now the importance of having relationships that you can nurture and grow. And then at the appropriate time, you can invite them or introduce them to some opportunity that you have. But I think a lot of people make the mistake of starting with that. They introduce themselves, and before they even get an opportunity to find out more about the person, they're like automatically jumping to talk about themselves and talk about or ask them to help them. And it's like, why would I help you with anything? Why would I buy anything from you or be a part of your team if I literally just met you through a Facebook message or through an Instagram message? You just can't expect people to do that. And I mean, you have to be realistic. I think that it's important to, have people that you can reach out to. And if it's at the right time, you should. But I definitely see disconnects, and it's a shame because there's so many opportunities for us to connect with people every day, and you never know how that connection is going to impact your life later, or what that connection can do for you. And if you think about where you are in your life and the opportunities you've had and the job you might have, or the school you go to, or the school you went to, or even the car you drive. I mean, think about who you knew that was able to position you for that. You know, who helped you with getting introduced to the person who hired you, who helped you with looking for that car that you purchased, or who, you know, introduced you to the person that you're dating or that you're married to. I mean, there's a whole line of connections that people have, and it's always fun to look back in hindsight. But what's scary is that we miss so many opportunities to connect with people every single day because we're distracted by our own shit. We're so busy. We're running in this circle every day doing the same thing, and we're in a routine, and we're missing new opportunities. And those opportunities are meeting new people, and maybe even just learning more about a friend that you've had for years that you've never really taken time to get to know on a deeper level. They might be a friend of yours who you went out with and spent time with socially, but it's a surface level friendship. And maybe there's more to someone that you should explore and understand and appreciate. And I think we oftentimes do miss those opportunities. So tonight, what I wanted to really just teach about quickly is all about, you know, how you can actually influence people in your life and how you can nurture and grow those relationships immediately. And that is going to help you with growing your business. It's going to help you in your career. It may not be tonight. It may not be tomorrow. It may not be next week or even next month. But I am pretty sure that any relationship that you build or form or continue to nurture in some way has an impact on your future. And the fact that you don't take the time is what we should be doing more of. And I want to share with you 3 things that you can do as you're taking more time to connect with people. And it all starts with this notion that we want to be influential to others. So I certainly encourage you to follow these 3 principles. Let me know what you think. Feel free to leave in the comments if you do happen to implement any of these in the next week, or even try it tonight or tomorrow. Let me know, because I would love, love, love to see more. I would love to know how you're using it. So I'm going to start this off with, like I said, 3 principles. And this is all really expanded upon and taught in more detail during my 8-week squad program. And I will tell you a little bit more about that at the end. But if you look at connecting principles, that is what we're trying to do. We're influencing people. We want to be able to connect with them. And the first thing that I will share is that connecting does influence in every situation. So if you're trying to influence someone, you must try to connect with them. And there are so many ways you can do that. I mean, think about some of the people you've bonded with recently. You might have connected over going to the same school. You might have connected over working in the same department, or having similar friends. Or maybe you connected over an experience you've both had. You traveled to the same place. You have common hobbies. Maybe you are both interested in a certain type of fitness class. There are so many different things you can connect on, and it's going to help you increase your influence. So it's important to know that. In any situation or encounter you have with someone, it is so important to make sure that you are sharing and connecting so that you can be influential. And that's the next point that I want to make. Sharing. In order to connect with someone, you really have to open up and somewhat be vulnerable. Share an experience that they may be able to connect with you. Now, that doesn't mean just run up and start telling people about all these crazy things that have happened in your life without first getting to know them and finding out if that is someone who really is worth sharing that experience with, because we all have experiences and we all should value them. And if we don't value our experiences, we just give them away. And I like to look at experience as a currency that you have to earn. I mean, I don't tell everybody everything, and I'm very surface with most people until I get closer to them and feel safer opening up and sharing more details about things and experiences I've had. But sharing an experience is definitely what's necessary for us to grow and connect with people. And so that's one way you can connect. Another way you can connect is really, like I've said before, find what commonalities you have. If you are both from the same town, or you both know the same group of people, or you may have worked at the same company at different times and you start chatting about who you might have known. Those are so many ways to connect as well. And you're not going to forget that person because you had something in common. And if you shared an experience with them, obviously they made an impact on you enough to feel safe sharing it. And if they shared an experience with you, that's even better because they felt safe, like they could. And that is something that's important to be aware of. When someone shares something important with you or shares an experience with you, some people are just out there and always sharing and oversharing. But in a one-on-one conversation, you can kind of gauge if this person does this a lot or if they truly feel safe and they're sharing this with you more one-on-one versus this is just what I do. And the second tip that I want to share. This practice is so important because it kind of goes to what I've been leading up to, and it's all about others. So it's important for you to understand that if you want to influence someone, you have to make it about them. If you want to influence someone, you have to find a way to connect with them, and then you have to find a way to make that connection and conversation about them. So I'll give you this example. I recently met a few people. Like I said, I've met more than a few people. There's so many women who I've talked to, and they've been just providing me with so many different things to consider in terms of how I interact. Because I've met women who are recently divorced, who are starting a business, who went through miscarriage recently, or they graduated, they just got married, or they just had a baby. And every person that I've talked to, they're in these different places of their life. But I've never been married. I've never been divorced. I've never had a baby. I have graduated before. I have started a business before. So I'm thinking, how can I connect with these people? And it's easier for me to connect with people who are doing similar business as me. But I can also find ways to connect with someone who might have experienced a tragedy that I just can't understand. And in those cases, it's not okay to just say, well, I'm sorry. And without sounding sincere, when you meet someone and this is what they share kind of about them, it's important for you to acknowledge that they're getting through it or they have gotten through it, and appreciate the strength that it took for them to share that with you and even for them to go through it. And that is a way to connect with someone, because when you connect with someone that you've never met and they might share something with you that you just can't relate to, it's hard in the moment for you to be able to figure out, what you should say. But if you really think about listening to them and really truly make that about them, you're going to pick up on things you probably wouldn't if you're worried about like what you're going to say next. And that's something that I was so guilty of. You can't worry about what you're going to say next, you really need to be listening to the person that's right there, what they're talking about, and empathize and start to understand and feel whatever it was that they felt. And they're sharing part of this, whatever it is, this happiness, and because they just graduated or they just got a new job or promotion. Be in that with them and share how excited it is for you to hear that, and that you can see how exciting it is for them. Acknowledge those things because it's important. And then on the reverse, if somebody is upset, acknowledge their pain. And even if you can't relate to it, at least let them know that you can see how upsetting this has been and you admire their strength to even share it. I mean, that is an amazing way to connect. And I have connected with a lot of people by myself opening up and sharing, because I felt safe sharing. And I've created some amazing friendships because the right person was there for me. And so now I'm able to do that for others. And I see how important it is, especially in business and in your career. Now, it may not always be that easy in a career, especially if you work in a corporate environment or a large organization, but you can still connect with people, and maybe those relationships take more time and you have to build trust. And that's much easier to do with someone that you may not know from work or, from somewhere that you might have to be careful in terms of how much somebody might know about you. And there's just so many things that you can connect. So make sure that it's all about them. Now, the last thing that I wanted to share today, and again, all of these principles are available in my 8-week squad program. It is kicking off in the fall, and there are limited spaces available. So I would say if you're at all feeling like you probably need to start thinking more about this and you really need to dig in and figure out a plan for yourself, I would highly recommend reaching out, letting me know, and I can get you in touch with how you can register and how to be part of it. So the last piece to this is that connecting really goes beyond words. And that's so empowering to hear, because I, for the longest time, experienced the hardest time like trusting people, and the hardest time feeling like anyone was genuine when it came to maybe a business relationship. And even those who were nice and they would say kind things in the room or to me, I couldn't trust that they were sincere. So that's just been years of constantly having bad situations and, quite frankly, dwelling on them too much. I've learned to let them go so that I can open up the space for me to have more real relationships with other people and create more trust and be more vulnerable, because we're all going to run into people that don't have good intentions when it comes to us. And if we ever pick up on that, especially women, using your intuition, if you pick up on a bad vibe, it's usually for a reason. And it's okay for you to distance yourself, but you don't have to open up and be vulnerable to someone that you get that feeling with. Now, if you open up and you're vulnerable to someone, that is part of life. And I think that is what has helped me over the last few years, just kind of become more confident and do more in my business and in my career and really make an impact in others' lives. Because some of the experiences that I've had, many people may not have known that. And then at the same time, I actually was able to help inspire them in some way, because they may not have experienced the exact same situation, but the root issue that I faced and the problem that I overcame was relatable to them and something that they were dealing with or had dealt with. So again, it's having something in common to relate beyond surface level, what you do, where you live, really getting to know someone. So as I wrap this up, it's so important to make sure that you do understand that you must connect with people to be able to influence them. it is all about other people. And you genuinely have to feel that and know that in your heart. It's not always all about you. We all have things in life that we go through, and we can't just throw that up on everyone all day long, everywhere we go, about our problems. We also need to be able to listen and truly help others. And just by listening, you never know who you're really helping. And finally, going beyond words, you cannot just speak certain things. You actually have to walk the walk and talk the talk. You can't just talk the talk. So in my last example, the corporate environment and having to build trust and knowing how important it is to actually go beyond your words and actually take action, that's how I was able to gain trust. That is how I was able to see I'm able to get over this. I got over it because I was able to understand their actions behind what they did really were there, and to look out for them. I started looking out for the good. And like I said, it took some time for me to just let go of all the crap that had happened in the past and the certain ways people might have treated me. But not everybody is that person or that situation. And if you continue to hold on to things like that, whatever the situation may be, you're closing off the opportunity to make a new connection with someone. So I hope that was helpful to you. I really appreciate you being here. And like I mentioned, I am kicking off my fall 8-week squad program all about connecting. It is called Connecting with Confidence. And I do have a free webinar available if you'd like to view that, understand a little bit more, dive a little deeper. But this is my invitation to you. There is a wait list as well. So I may be running an additional session, but I appreciate you being here and taking time to watch this. We all deserve to live a life full of happiness, confidence, and intention. And I sure hope that I have inspired you to live more intentionally today. Have a great night.